Hallo, hallo. Yeah, my blood is rebel. I'm going all the way. I'm going to another level. To another level.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
Paradise, paradise. Every time she closed her eyes. I'm going all the way. I'm going. Yeah, my blood is rebel. I'm going all the way. I'm going to another level.
Welcome back.
So you join us for the second part of our card of LUTADOR de ELITE 10. We've had 10 fantastic matches and we've got 8 more to go. So we'd like to welcome all of those that are joining us brand new and all of those that followed us across from the previous stream. We've got an exciting set of bouts, and that's going to kick off with Nico Soli versus Lamberto Raffi. As if on cue. As if on cue.
Here we are, guys. So we have a fight between Lamberto Raffi against Nico Soli. Again, one match with an MMA fighter against an experienced grappler for the belt of the 90 kilograms. At the corner of Nico Soli, we have Walter Cogliandro, Daniele Scatizzi, and of course, John Kavanagh, as always.
Sorry about that there, Roberto, for cutting you off. Okay, this is a really exciting fight because Nico's actually just a blue belt, and we say just a blue belt, yet we are saying that because Lamberto Raffi is a bit of a legend in Italy, somebody who's got a lot of experience, and somebody who is known for being aggressive and never giving up. So it'll be incredibly interesting to see how the dynamism of the young fighter matches up with the experience and wiliness of the more experienced competitor. Just a little tie-up at the moment, and maybe a chance to say that we just had a little break, and I got to smash a South Tyrolean Wiener Schnitzel, which was one of the absolute highlights of my day other than these matches. Filled with South Tyrolean chicken power, we're going to be taking you through these matches for the rest of the evening. Would you approve Roberto's a nutritionist? I'm not sure if it's...
Kind of, because I can say nothing, because I had a schnitzel so with French fries, so not in the best position to comment. But, as we can see, the first use of a defense in a standing fight.
Nico has got to be more experienced in this position. You see fantastic head position, high and correct whizzer by Lamberto Raffi, and Nico is looking to get behind him to be able to set up the suplex, but needs to be careful of being judo thrown here. Lamberto, no slouch in the judo department. I'd like to see Nico split the legs, and there it is. Splits the legs, and the balance.
Nice takedown from Nico Soli. He's in half guard.
How much energy do you think that took out of Nico? Because that's a big movement.
A lot, because the guy is heavy and he needed to push a lot to get the takedown.
Beautiful takedown though, fantastic takedown. And textbook, he used that knee to split the legs like I was asking, and then locked his hands for the double, got his weight underneath, and a very high amplitude throw that's going to score for the judges if there's no submission attempts. He's ended in half guard, and I think Lamberto is probably going to bait a pass to be able to explode here. Okay? You can see using that whizzer, that overhook, instead of trying to find an underhook for Lamberto, that usually means some sort of explosion imminent if the position changes.
Let's see how Nico will read the situation. Doesn't seem to put many effort to pass the guard.
Nico would just be loving to rain down some punches here, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but he can't.
I believe there's a battle going on for the right knee and the right hand, and you can see Lamberto entering a butterfly hook in there from bottom half guard, and that's going to allow him to elevate and maybe clear a little bit of space to go to work. Nico doing a great job of staying strong with his head position and his underhook, meaning there's going to be a lot of effort. He's clearly got a game plan, hasn't he? He's clearly got a game plan, bullying the older fighter, forcing him to work. I think he's got double unders here, which means that he can start to pull the legs out and trip down to the mat. He should be looking to throw his left leg around Lamberti's right leg and then perhaps turn him towards his head so that he ends up with the underhook on the right-hand side. A bit of a different position now, though. Lamberto using the knee to create a frame in between the two and to take away a little bit of space. Any commentary on Nico's mindset?
Nico's mindset usually is very strong. He believes a lot in himself and in his capacities. So, for sure, Nico thinks he's gonna win this match, for sure.
Well, so he's landed in the opposite side half guard from last time with another high amplitude takedown. Lamberto Raffi, hand on the hip, waiting for an opportunity here, but Nico really giving very little. And I think, yeah, there's that butterfly hook back, and the position starts to move on. I mean, Lamberto's sweating heavily here, isn't he? Back to the fence. That's probably what's about to happen. Big deep breath, and this is just round one, guys. It's just out round one.
Out
Nico,
of two. And we have a lot of different of age here. So Lamberto is quite older than Nico, which is only 25.
Lovely. You guys have to remember here, Lamberto Raffi, although he's 53, he is a seasoned black belt. He has had his black belt for a long time. He's been in these positions before. And Nico, he's come in with a very specific game plan, following the advice of Coach Kavanagh. And that game plan seems to be paying massive dividends at the moment. Lamberto must know that he's down here and he needs to start working for a submission attempt. The one thing that I would say, though, is there are no submission attempts on the board. There are no submission attempts on the board. So anything at all could take this match at any moment.
Yeah. So let's see what this second round will bring us.
If you were in the corner of Lamberto, what would you say?
I would say just to, if he has a good guard game, I would just pull guard against Nico and try to attack some legs. Because as we've seen, Nico wants to be aggressive, and maybe pulling guard gives him the chance to grab one leg and try to leg lock.
So Lamberto's staying in the center this time. He's not allowing himself to be pushed to the fence. I really think Lamberto wants to see himself on top, and that's an incredibly intelligent decision. Nico has walked himself back to the fence because he knows that any circling off like this means that he'll be able to push him back to the fence himself. Really interesting stylistic matchup. Big thank you to Alessandro Federico for this LUTADOR de ELITE 10 and the matchups that he's put in front of us. Not every grappling show would take the risk to match up guys like this for our entertainment. And I'm really glad he has, because it's given us something different to watch tonight.
Yeah. Even the rule set is quite different than the usual tournament, so it gives more space to the entertainment.
Fair play, Lamberto. 52, tangling with a 25-year-old experienced Bellator MMA fighter, and he is all game. He's still driving forward after 5 hard minutes and being slammed. What a competitor. Nico's got a great defensive grappling game here, and you can see that he's just making sure that Lamberto cannot get in on his hips. Yeah, you can hear John asking him to work that neck. Something that has often taken a bit of a paggering over their lifetimes is the necks of grapplers, and just in general, you know, hanging on that neck is something that's going to absolutely exhaust you at this altitude, this heat, this pressure, this event, the people. You think of the pressure as well of having to compete against, you know, just a blue belt.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know that the level of a blue belt in MMA is completely different than a blue belt in that just does jiu-jitsu.
One thing is interesting is, do the judges take into account the age difference? Because I remember hearing at the rules meeting that there could be a consideration for that in the end if the match is very, very close. But I think somebody's got to take control of this match.
Yeah, and no one of the two athletes is it's taking heavy risks.
Yeah, 3 minutes. Nico knows he's up the first round. Lamberto can't afford to engage in the cage wrestling. Like, he's seen he's lost that already twice. So, yeah, Nico's just doing that work. He doesn't want to take the risk of putting his head underneath such an experienced black belt. There we go. Look at the scroll.
I was just asking myself why nobody attempted a double leg.
Could the 52 have anything to do with it?
Oh!
Lovely work, lovely work, lovely work. Now, how much of the gas is left for Lamberto here? He's put up a fantastic fight. You know, he's shown his quality, he's shown his experience, but does time come for us all? I mean, from your experience as a doctor and in your field, how do you say aging affects a fighter?
Aging affects fighting because aging, the process of aging takes away the first performance parameter that takes away its speed.
Yeah.
It's
I think we've seen that tonight, haven't we?
And then it's resistance. Force doesn't get affected that much, but force resistance is. So for sure, Nico, it's gonna be more.
Anything at all could take this match. I mean, you'd just be saying jump on a leg lock here, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, just to score an attempt. Look at Lamberto, how he's breathing heavily after this scramble with Nico.
I mean, fair play, Lamberto. What a competitor. I've heard that there's no quit in Lamberto, and he's shown that tonight. Look, wrapping up a neck, going for something. Just to put a stamp on the scorecards.
Yeah.
Nico Soli take a bow. And he helps his opponent up. A good show of respect. Great match, great match, great match. I've got to say, I'm really impressed by Lamberto here.
Yeah.
Not just in the performance, but in the mindset and in the willingness to take a match like this. You know, he's got nothing really to gain from this except, you know, the prestige and the belt, but he has everything to lose, and yet he's still willing to come out here, put on a fantastic show, give it everything, and you can see that he's given it everything.
Yeah.
How can you ask any more?
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic work, Nico. He did exactly what he had to do.
A lot of respect for Lamberto.
Yeah. He took those slams like a champ as well.
Yeah.
What a great match. What a great match.
First win for the SBG athlete here in LUTADOR. Oh!
And Nico receives his purple belt.
He gets crowned purple belt. Wow.
Just a blue belt, I was saying on commentary as well. And we know that's not true. What a lovely scene. And really well done, Lamberto Raffi. Lamberto, well done. You know, Lamberto's been teaching a lot, and you know, you've got to give credit for such a tough ask of somebody, you know. Let's hear what they've got to say.
Here we are, 12th match of the evening. We have Simon Nogler versus Giuseppe Saviano. We are here for the master belt of grappling of LUTADOR de ELITE X. You said that you personally know Simon Nogler, right?
Yes, so along with you, Roberto, Simon is one of my most favorite people on the planet. He's got just a heart of gold, one of the biggest hearts you're ever going to come across. It's been a long time since he's competed, and when I spoke to him before, he said that this had brought back a ton of memories and feelings. And his opponent is maybe a slightly less experienced black belt nonetheless, but has actually got around 150 kickboxing belts to his name, would you believe? So a heavier, more experienced opponent. And one thing that's also incredibly interesting about this match is the first time that Simon has competed since having hip surgery. So I know that that he said the recovery's gone super well, but you never know these sort of things until you test them in competition. And with both of these guys being a bit further up there in age, something where we might get to see a bit more of a technical masterclass. And Simon said he was thinking half guard or deep half guard, and he's gone straight to it. One thing is, I doubt that any of these guys have trained in a cage, and it does make a difference.
Yeah,
it does
a lot.
make a massive difference.
It makes a lot of difference because, as you can see, when you are against the fence, it limits a lot the possibility for you to move in that direction and even to pass, okay? But if you use the fence at your will, it can be a huge advantage.
One thing that I found whenever I rolled with Simon is, despite his advanced age, compared to myself anyway, I'm 34, he always had what I would describe as a good grappling stance. Now that's a strange thing to say, because you think of stance as a kickboxing thing, but he'd always make sure that he was, and you see here, his head is really off center, and cutting angles in these types of positions is super important. At the moment, he's being stifled by Giuseppe, but still looking to attack off the bottom and to isolate those arms. Simon's nasal breathing by the looks of things, and I wonder if that's... Oh! Here's the triangle attempt, and it gets passed off it. So, it's going to be depending on how the judges see that, whether they see that as a triangle attempt or as a positional advancement by his opponent.
I wouldn't score it as a submission attempt because it wasn't locked.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Giuseppe doing a fantastic job of preventing Simon's hips from facing the floor. This is incredibly important because if the hips can't face the floor, you can't build up, you can't build height, can't win those underhooks. And it's an idea from wrestling. If I can make your belly button face the ceiling, if I can make your hips face the ceiling, then you can't drive power into me. Of course, Simon's an experienced guard player, so he'll probably be looking to wrap up a leg. But it's interesting to see that Giuseppe is having such an efficient methodology of staying on top. There's no doubt that Giuseppe's controlling this fight.
No.
Really bringing that weight to bear. Oh, looks like an arm triangle attempt. Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
That looks tight.
Yeah.
That looks really tight. And he's managed to pass the guard.
He cleared the leg.
Simon's holding the fence. I've got no idea if that's legal or not. Oh, that looks tight, man. That looks really, really tight. And no doubt that that's a submission attempt on the board. So if this doesn't finish, he's going to be up. And he chooses to go back to mount. Maybe he's going to adjust and go again. Simon really needs to do something out of this. But what's interesting here is, again, the cage is preventing Giuseppe from getting higher.
Yeah. Which is required sometimes to lock this type of chokes.
Yeah, so he needs to be able to bring his chest to the floor and rise up to make this work. And he might have another stab at this. And Simon's out. Simon's out. He's got his arm free. But did that take anything out of the gas tank? Dominant round.
Yeah, for Giuseppe.
He's scoring by every metric of the scoring criteria. One thing I asked Simon in the... Oh, a tip sweep! He hits a tip sweep! Oh, and just with 10 seconds left on the round.
Nice one.
Score.
Nice one from Simon with that sweep and that attempt on the foot of Giuseppe.
Oh, it's so interesting. And that's the difference between 2 5s and a 10-minute. Who knows what would have happened if we'd got another 5 minutes to Simon on top. But that is concretely Giuseppe's round. Concretely.
Yeah, and it's completely different to have 2 separate rounds than a 10-minute straight round, of course.
If you were in there, which competitor do you think's got more confidence going into the next one? Simon with the most recent sweep,
Giuseppe. I think, because he was more in control. So I think his mental game could be higher now.
The crowd loves him. Ask yourself how many 50-year-olds you know and whether they can do 10 minutes of grappling.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then look at the lens. Look at that lens here. You got two guys who are risking injury. Do you know what I mean? And stepping on the mats to test themselves, to test what is essentially, in some of their cases, a very broken body, and to test their martial arts in front of a crowd of hundreds of people. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah. We shouldn't give that for granted.
I'm not sure if this is the best strategy for Simon. You know, like, oh, here we go again. He needs to clear that head. He knows he needs to clear that head. And Giuseppe doing a fantastic job of controlling the hips again. Look at this. For half guard to effectively work, that top leg needs to be involved, attacking as well. And Giuseppe's done a fantastic job of flattening him out. And in fact, this is actually the way that I like to play side control. That's how I like to do it. One hand in between the legs, one hand around the head, because I think it kills half guard. It kills wrestling, kills hip escapes. And this is something that I personally really enjoy myself.
Oh, nice. Nice to hear. He says he is not able to clear his leg.
It's nice to see these guys having such fun with it. And you can hear the crowd is too. I wonder if both of these guys are going to run out of time. Simon needs to be careful of the Kimura here. Giuseppe is looking at raising that leg to escape his leg, but while Simon uses that right arm to clear his face, he could leave himself vulnerable.
Yeah.
That elbow's away from the body. You can see Giuseppe's having a think.
Maybe he just want to Giuseppe to take off his right arm from his leg.
Yeah, you think it's a bait?
Yeah, it could
Yeah,
be.
I wouldn't put it past Simon because he is a wily character, man. Giuseppe's not having any of it, though. Get up, get up. Oh. I didn't see if there was a knee bar attempt there. Did you?
Yeah.
What fierce competitors, guys. He's got 1 minute left. Can he pull again without getting his legs entangled? Can Giuseppe get some sort of a takedown off this 2-on-1? Oh, I just want this match to keep going. The crowd, really, if you were here, you'd feel the atmosphere. You can cut it with a knife. The crowd is so behind Simon being the smaller man. Giuseppe is doing everything right. Good head position, taking his time.
How many submission attempts can we count?
There's got to be a submission attempt, though. Oh, and he's passed. Oh. There's got to be a submission attempt, though.
Seconds left.
I'm dead guilty of just watching the fight. I'm not invested. Brilliant match. And the crowd goes wild, as you can well expect. What a match. What a match. What a match.
Goes to the judges, and I don't really know which could be the decision of the judges in this case.
I did not see if Simon attempted a knee bar. I cannot see that. Do you know what I mean? I think it's going to have to be the arm triangle of Giuseppe. But guys, what a fun match. What a fun match. What a fun match. I think it has to be the arm triangle, don't you?
Yeah, I think the most important submission attempt was the arm triangle from Giuseppe, and from Simon that scramble to the leg, but he didn't attack properly. So he was in the situation to, but
all I saw was him passing the leg across. I couldn't quite see whether he did that because Giuseppe had to fight the knee line, but there's no doubt that arm triangle was a pretty serious attempt.
Yeah.
I mean, you know. Okay, Simon wins. Okay, maybe it was a knee bar. I'm saying I didn't see the knee bar. You know, I didn't see the knee bar. The tip sweep was lovely, and obviously being in control at the end was lovely. I think all we saw was the arm triangle.
yeah.
But fair play, Simon. Lovely pass at the end there as well. And if it was 1-1 on submission attempts,
The athlete in the red corner is saying that they make 104 years in two people.
Yeah. Yep. And there's probably what? I don't know, 60 years of martial arts experience at least in that cage. Not all necessarily grappling. Okay, guys, just a tiny little correction from ourselves here. In that last match, we were a little bit shocked to hear that Simon had won. However, after just quickly conferring with the judges to find out what had happened, what we thought we didn't see in terms of the knee bar, we thought something on the legs, turned out that it was actually a very, very tight toe hold, but just from an angle that we couldn't see, which made it equal on submission attempts. And then, if everything, including control and sweeps, is even, then they tend to lean towards the person who is the lighter weight or the older. And Simon was both the lighter and the older out of the two of them. So actually probably a fair decision, and it's a curse of the commentary that you can't always see everything. Okay, so straight into this match.
Another knee bar attempt from Ardini.
That seemed really close. Okay, so we have ourselves Angelo Contino versus Alessandro Adrini, and yeah, who'd have known that while we're explaining the previous match, that an entire evening's worth of action would happen immediately. So the match is settled a little bit, but a really deep and grimacing sub-attempt from the man on bottom.
Oh, nice sweep from Alessandro.
And now he's on top, passing the guard. That makes me wonder, has he done some damage to his knee in that?
Could be. But I don't think so.
Angelo seemed to have given up position there to make sure that that he didn't get caught in a leg entanglement. And Alessandro took full advantage of that, passed his guard. Once again, utilizing hands through the hips. Gutting out a knee bar, man. You've got to be some animal to gut out a knee bar. Knee bars are my least favorite submission to have to deal with. It comes on super quick. It damages you super deeply. At least in a heel hook, you've got some tension to sort of be absorbed within your ligaments. But in a knee bar, it's just crunch and done. So gutting out a knee bar, and also you can see it do massive damage. There's a cat in the UFC called Mohamed Mokaev who recently got knee barred brutally, and that did some real damage to his knee. So.
Yeah, because it damages all the structures,
Yeah.
all the ligaments. Okay, some work pressure from Alessandro, trying to isolate the left arm.
Okay, and he's out of north-south and got a guard back, which is at least something that he can start to be offensive from. Nice sweep, and he's in on a leg lock himself. He's in on a leg lock, but Alessandro knows how to defend one of those. He'd do a good job to switch this to a straight foot lock just to get a submission attempt on the board, Depends how the judges see that.
Yeah,
You didn't capture the heel
I'd
hook.
see it as a submission attempt.
Yeah? Back and forth.
Yeah,
Really back and forth. Good job.
high
there.
rhythm.
I know Angelo pretty well as well. He's a very explosive guy. Very, very competent. Very, very good. And doesn't seem quite as explosive as he did in the first 30 seconds, which makes me wonder if he took some damage to that knee, because last time I took a serious injury, actually it was when we were rolling together. It was when I snapped my foot, and I tried to carry on rolling, and it was something that I experienced quite an adrenaline dump. Ooh.
Another submission attempt.
Yeah, that's a lot more
to the
deeper.
feet.
That's a lot deeper.
And
Ooh.
seems
The cage is in the way if he wants to roll as well. Maybe switch to a toe hold, maybe a straight foot lock, but one thing's true is he can't really roll out of there with the cage in the way. These guys are wise to it though, aren't they? These positions need to be really, really respected, because there's a calf crunch here and there's an inverted attack to 411. He needs to stay on the hips. He can't accept being broken down to hip here, can Angelo, because he's going to end himself back in another leg lock or a knee bar. Oh! But the other guy who wins his underhook. Yep. Great work from Alessandro. Fantastic work from Alessandro. Just playing the game.
Yeah.
Just playing the game well. Question is, how do you see those submission attempts versus that original knee bar?
Well, they are legit submission attempts, so I would score them like this.
So who do you have winning this round then? Tough question. You cannot pin Angelo at all, and he's back in on another leg, but so's Alessandro. Absolute leg spaghetti going on here. Whee!
Nice round.
Nice rounds. Nice rounds. Nice rounds. Angelo looks exhausted. I'm trying to watch Angelo's body mechanics, body language, see if he has taken any damage to that knee from that knee bar. Alessandro's projecting confidence, not taking a seat, walking around, loose, communicating with his corner. It really does depend. That knee bar was super close, but he didn't really have anything else other than that knee bar, other than positional control. And in a rule set where you're constantly rewarding submission attempts, there's about 4 or 5 heel hooks from Angelo.
And here we go with the second round.
When you decide to reward submission attempts rather than depth of submission attempt, you know, it's a tough ask, because here you have Angelo with more submission attempts, but certainly Alessandro with the highest quality submission attempt. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree completely.
He's sitting back
A
on the
lot
leg
of
again.
work to the legs this night.
Yeah, it's become a real part of the game now.
Yeah.
You certainly can't be considered a high-level grappler without a complete knowledge of the legs. Interesting to see that the knee bars seem to have put bullets in people, but not the heel hooks though, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've seen more knee bars than heel hooks.
Do you think that's like that knee bars were you know, or can be considered a little bit more old school, and therefore, you know, some of these guys getting up there in age will have more experience with that?
Can be.
You know,
Or maybe it just happened.
the last 5 times I was submitted, 2 of them were knee bars.
Yeah.
Yep. And 2 of them were rear naked chokes by Owen O'Flanagan, so I'm not sure if I should count those. One of them was by Alessandro, actually.
What?
50-year-old Alessandro Federico, who we have in the grappling main event. Yeah, sneaky Liam. Looking for the arm for the Kimura. Looking to use that to attack the legs, and looking to use that to attack the back. We've got a toe hold. That's deep.
Ow.
That's really deep. The ref's taking a good look there. And he uses it to come back on top. And the cage really seems to be getting in the way for some people's normal escapes of rolling out of things. And Angelo seeds him out. After such a dominant submission attempt, I'm surprised that he let that go so easily.
Maybe he's so tired.
Yeah, it's very
Just
possible.
let go the position.
38 versus 42.
Somehow, yes.
Do you think Lutador is something you'd like to compete on?
Oh, you repeat?
Yeah, do you think Lutador is something you'd like to have a match on? For those who don't know, Roberto is a purple belt.
No, I
purple
think
belt?
I'm done with competing.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because I don't find much time to train, so... Well, why not? Why not? I should just concentrate more on jiu-jitsu than lifting weights.
I can't see here if he's trying Ezekiel chokes or not. I can't see for this angle. Oh, this is difficult because it could be important, you know. That certainly
Yeah.
looks like he's trying to set up
Yeah.
an Ezekiel, but you know, you need connection to that for it to even worry your opponent. Heavy shoulder pressure. Shoulder pressure like Angelo owes it money. And he's dripping with sweat as a man on top as well. No question about the effort exerted by these athletes tonight.
Alessandro trying to work his way for a submission, trying to isolate one arm or maybe attack the throat.
It's tough, man. When you've got somebody who wants to keep their elbows glued, finding that's really, really tough. It's almost like it's worth taking your time in that dominant position. It's just a question of who the judges have up on some attempts, because we haven't been able to see from our angle whether or not there was no-gi Ezekiel attacks. Smothers are legal. That's where I'd be going. You put my hand straight across your mouth, making sure you couldn't breathe.
Okay.
So as I said, we couldn't see whether those were in fact no-gi Ezekiel attempts. And Angelo is obviously up on the heel hook attempts from the previous round. So it is really a question of how the judges see this, because by the rules, I do believe Angelo would be up on submission attempts. Although I think it's fair to say that Alessandro had the better time in that match in terms of positionally.
Yeah,
He very much dominated positionally. But it did seem like Angelo was up on those heel hook attempts from the beginning. So it's really anyone's game. You know,
maybe Angelo.
Oh, the toe hold in this round as well.
Yeah, maybe Angelo.
That toe hold against the cage actually was super deep, and Angelo put a lot of work in. Although the angle wasn't perfect, but at least it was an attempt.
Angelo.
Okay. That's just another example of this rule set, meaning that like the submission attempts really are king in this. Okay, like if your rule set says you've got to attempt as many submissions as possible, you really do have to attempt as many submissions as possible. Somebody could take you down, pass your guard, mount you, take you back, transition back to mount, and you could go for a footlock. And according to this rule set, you will win with a footlock. And everybody was told this at the beginning, so sometimes you've got to play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I recently competed in Polaris, and I understand that their rule set's very similar. I felt like Chris White, my opponent, put on what I would describe as a prettier display of jiu-jitsu than myself. But I understood how the game was played, I understood the strategy, and I jumped on a bunch of heel hooks, and I did my very best to try and break his leg.
Were you successful?
I was not successful. He is very tall. But I tried. I tried very, very, very hard. And in the end, because I had tried to finish the fight and had been more aggressive, despite my jiu-jitsu being less pretty, I came out the victor, and rightfully so by their rule set. You know, so at the end of the day, you've got to play the rules on the table, you know?
And what happened at the end of your fight?
I proposed to my long-term girlfriend, my now fiancée, Julia Klamsteiner, who's a black belt from this very village, San Ynesen, underneath Alessandro Federico, and she said yes, which was nice. So I'm very happy about that. And I don't think she really had a chance to say no. There were 4,000 people in attendance and several thousand watching online. So if anybody out there is wondering what's the best way to propose to your missus, do it when she can't say no.
Yeah, it was such a romance. We are with the 14th match. We have Mirko Granelli versus Alessandro Frezza. Alessandro is a well-experienced grappler because he has been in the national team since a long time, and he has also won the grappling European Championship in the heavyweights. So
we have a quarter of a ton in there at the moment.
yeah.
So I'd be fully expecting fireworks. It's a very, very rare day that Mirko is not the bigger man. Very rare day.
Wow, fight starts quite aggressive for Mirko. Incredible, almost to the back.
Mirko's attempting an armbar here, but can these guys keep this pace?
With this weight, especially.
Very aggressive. Mirko's usually quite jovial, quite chilled, and I think he recognizes the task that he's got in front of him, and this is definitely not where you want to be against Alessandro Frezza. Although, I'd say Mirko's up a submission attempt. Is Mirko up a submission attempt? I didn't see the first round.
I think not.
No, he
well,
went for the armbar.
well,
Went for
yeah,
the armbar.
a kind of armbar and omoplata.
Did Alessandro Frezza go for anything?
No, up to now, no.
Alessandro Frezza definitely had to posture up to get out of this position. Definitely had to posture up. Now, what's being worked here? Okay, top position.
Very common the control you've been speaking before about grabbing the head and the leg in the 100 kilos position from side control.
I think these guys have to understand in the back of their heads that this is 10 minutes, you know, because this is a lightweight pace at heavyweight.
Yeah.
Seems to have settled a little bit, but Mirko's also a seasoned weightlifter, so I don't think he'd be that uncomfortable with this. I mean, not that he's going to be comfortable, but I don't think he'd be that uncomfortable with this weight on top of him. It's just making sure that he makes no mistakes and actually manages to progress from this position. For Alessandro Frezza, it might be worth considering advancing your position, mount, north-south, looking for the back attack. It looks like he's got a lot of experience attacking the far arm.
Yeah.
They've blackened out the arena and put on the spotlights, which lends this sort of an extra atmosphere here, you know. All eyes on the center of the cage. And Mirko has his underhook. Mirko has his underhook and regards from it. You know, at this weight class, I probably would like to see somebody coming up on half guard or a single leg or some sort of wrestling.
Oh, was that a mano de vaca?
It was a wrist lock.
Yeah, the first one of the night.
I asked this in the rules meeting. What happens if you just sort of like slam a wrist lock on and off? You know, does this count as a submission attempt?
Yeah, exactly.
They said that the person would have to defend it, and I don't think Alessandro Frezza really had to defend that. What do you think?
Well, depends on how the action goes, because if you just leave your wrist there, it's just a submission attempt. But if you move, would you consider it a defense? I'd consider it a defense, because if you just keep your wrist there, it's gonna be broken.
Interesting. Yeah, really interesting. I certainly wouldn't want Mirko sitting up on my wrist.
Oh!
Near side Americana. Certainly looks like a submission attempt. And Mirko's in on the heel. Mirko's in on the heel. I cannot see. I wish these guys would consider straight footlocks, you know. Wish these guys would consider straight foot. At this weight class, a straight footlock's going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, because you have enough strength to break the foot quite easily.
Yeah, I know they're not in vogue when it comes to the heel hooks and whatnot. He needs to be careful of a counter strategy here as well. If either of these guys know how to do what's called a Lin's lock, this fight could be over pretty quickly. Mirko's got one sitting right in front of him. Yes, he's looking for it. Yeah, he just needs to get that left arm under the ankle, lock his hands, take it home. Now, he looks like he's prioritizing clearing his own leg first. It's an incredible first round.
Yeah, high rhythm between the two athletes.
Look, he's forcing him to defend here. That's a legit submission attempt. You know,
a lot of action with these two heavy fighters. Very uncommon.
This is another one. By the rules, who has more submission attempts? You have an armbar, you have two heel hook attempts.
Yeah.
You have a wrist lock?
Maybe a wrist lock, yes.
And what do we see? We have an Americana. We have an Americana attempt. Do we see
from
anything
Alessandro
else?
Frezza?
I think he was trying to set up a Darce or an Anaconda at one point, but he didn't lock it.
Yeah, so I wouldn't consider it. So, like 4 submission attempt, 5. Wrist, Americana, heel hooks or straight foot locks, and no holds.
This has been the story. This has been the story of a couple of the matches in this, where you have one guy looking dominant and what I would describe as out-grappling his opponent, but not capitalizing on the rule set.
Yeah. I wonder why, if the athlete has in his mind that he has to submit, or if maybe he just doesn't find a way to shot a submission.
The thing about this is that, you know, the higher level you become, actually the less submission focused you become.
Yeah, exactly.
I've noticed this myself. Like when I was a brown belt, he needs to take his time because he's going to lose position if he's not careful. He needs to take his time.
Very nice attempt to isolate Alessandro's right arm.
He needs to readjust his position. He's going to lose position here if he doesn't readjust. And there we go. I told you he needs to take his time. But here we go. We've got a guillotine. Nope. Oh, wow. I don't know if Alessandro's taken a knock or something, but he seems really to have slowed down on this gas. And he's attacking the legs of Mirko, and Mirko really needs to sit on his hips here. He needs to sit on those hips, crush, and then I'll start to work the face. What Alessandro needs to do is he needs to get that top knee in front of Mirko, create a little bit of space, take the weight off that leg, and start to peel it. But letting go of this means that Mirko should have a nice, strong top position. And Mirko is not a guy that you want crushing you from top.
And you can,
goes again.
You can hear the crowd.
God, an exhausting pace. And Mirko could be under the neck. Nope. Unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable.
And Mirko doesn't even seem that tired.
No, but you have to understand the credentials of the man that he's fighting. Mirko does not have that same accolades to his name. You know, like Mirko should be considered a big underdog here. He's down on weight, he's down on experience, he's down on ranking, and he's down on competition accolades. Yeah. And yet he's winning the first round and now dominating the second. And you can hear the crowd is willing him on. But can he keep this going? Alessandro's won his underhook, started to climb, built position. Mirko's going for an inverted triangle, but it's hard to see whether or not. Nope.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Maybe he just had the head.
Did you see any submission attempts in those exchanges when he went for the neck?
Maybe we can consider when the Mirko went for the back, the attempt to choke. But he didn't have the complete control.
So Mirko's doing a good job of hiding that arm. And the match has slowed down a little bit after furious, intense parts of movement. And Mirko can't afford to get lax here because he's been passed to mount. And he's got an elbow isolated.
Can you imagine the pressure on that arm?
He has 130 kilos. 130 kilos working to try and improve. Well, you can hear who the crowd wants.
Looks like... Ah, okay, here comes the people for Alessandro. It seemed like all the crowd was here for
Isn't this what you want out of a match, though? You want two sides supporting back and forth match.
I don't know, guys, if you can hear the loud sound of the crowd.
I'll tell you what I can't hear, which is myself.
Yeah.
I'd love to know. I'd love to be able to see what the time is in this match, because I think unless something massive changes, I think Mirko might take this, which is a huge scalp. It's a huge scalp. Remember, submission attempts. Can he keep himself safe? And it's another beautiful pass. Mount's wide open for him. No, the fatigue must be taking hold now. I mean, how do you keep that pace up?
It's incredibly tiring to have a person like Alessandro Frezza on top of you, trying to break something out of you.
Is this a submission attempt, though? That's a question.
I'd say yes. Not at all.
So this for me is Mirko's submission attempts.
Yeah.
And again, it's like the last couple of matches where you've got one guy who hits what the rules criteria is whilst being out-grappled. If any of the last three matches are IBJJF matches, these guys lose pretty handily. But by the rule set, Mirko, armbar in the first, heel hook attempt in the first, wrist lock attempt in the first, rear naked attempt in the second, and then the only thing that I see from Alessandro Fraser is an Americana and a Kimura lock. So I'd be happy if Alessandro won this. I really would, because he seems like he put on what I would describe as a cleaner performance. But by the rules, it's submission attempts. Interesting to see which way this goes. Interesting to see which way it goes. But if anything like the last couple of the matches is to show, you know, then I actually think that by the rules, Mirko won this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Mirko's has the most numerous submission attempts, and even if in the last part of the round he was out grappled.
Remember as well, if everything was even, they would give it
to the
lighter
lightest,
guy.
to the lighter guy.
And the thing is with this, even though, you know, there is a 25 kilo weight difference, which doesn't seem that much, but it's still, you know, it's still 20%. Yeah. Yep. Submission attempts do it.
Mirko doesn't seem to agree.
Yeah. I don't know if these guys are understanding what is going on here. Do you know? Because like the other team is protesting, and I'm not going to sit here and say that these guys were out grappled. They weren't, but they didn't have the submission attempts.
Exactly.
And everybody's been told this at the beginning. You know.
Some people
and it wasn't like anything's equal. It's submission attempts number one, and then if submission attempts were equal, then it would go on to the control and the technical side of things, and if that is equal, then it would go to weight and all the rest of these.
Yeah, it's very important to keep in mind this in judging the fights.
And I understand, because I'm not going to sit here and say that these guys haven't been out grappled, but they did win by the rule set.
Okay, guys, we have one of the last grappling match. It's between Michael Norris and Daniele Santisi. So we have Daniele in the red corner and Michael Norris in the blue corner. I guess if the surname of Michael Norris is that Norris, I imagine, but just asking.
Yeah, it's always a risk to take on a Norris, you know. But this isn't karate. And fair play to continue on even if a no-show. You know, fair play to actually go in for a grappling match.
Daniele Santisi. I actually was asked, or I actually came into my mind to compete, but this match is in 70 kilos, and I'm like 84 right now, so it wouldn't be
84 and ripped.
ripped before the schnitzel and the French fries.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Although the salt in that, you know.
Yeah.
So we have half guard, cross face, chest to chest. Fantastic passing position, clear control for your man on top.
A lot of work from the half guard, but I haven't seen like very clean technique about passing the half guard.
It's not always easy, and there's a couple of things that I think people could try. So from here you see one of the problems is that it's quite difficult to elevate your hips without giving up position. So there's a little-known grappler, not many people know him, called Gordon Ryan. And Gordon likes to put his head on the... I'm just trolling, by the way, for the audience. Gordon likes to put his head on the outside, on the opposite side to the underhook, to be able to staple the opponent, control the bottom arm, and then use that to pass them out. Something that's an interesting option. Here you see he's lost his underhook, and this means that the man on bottom should be able to create some type of an offense, but the guard has been passed. His guard. Curse the commentator then. As soon as I commentate, he has an underhook. Boom, guard passed.
Yeah.
So he hasn't got a submission attempt. Let's see what happens. No.
And you know what? I haven't seen in these matches an aggressive use of the back take.
Yeah.
Maybe because the athletes were able to defend the back, or maybe because of the grappling style.
Tell you what, I wonder, what we have seen is quite a lot of leg entanglements.
Yeah, a lot.
And we've seen a lot of people being quite defensive in terms of once they're past the guard. Could that be because of the risk of submission attempts? You know? So leg locks obviously count for a submission attempt, and preventing anybody from doing any submission attempts means you glue your back to the floor, right?
Yeah.
You know, if I've got my back glued to the floor and my elbows tight to my body, it's quite hard to submit me.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if I had to worry about points, here obviously I'd be losing points. Here I'd be losing points, so I might be turtling. I might be exposing my back more. Oh, and he's on a. He's on a.
That would be 6 points.
He's on a hammerlock.
This is a
Deep,
submission
deep,
attempt
deep
for
grip.
sure.
Deep. Okay, that's definitely a submission attempt.
And here we have an Ezekiel.
Yeah, if you were getting mounted and your only chance was to try and avoid the point loss, then you might consider bellying down, you might consider turtling, you might consider turning, but there's not the same onus to do that if all you have to do is not get submitted or let them get a submission attempt.
Oh, I like this type of attack from the mount, like trying to set up a triangle.
He's using that thigh to pull the elbow up beautifully, isn't he? Look at that.
Oh,
And he's
closed somehow.
Oh, he might get armbarred here. His hand's not locked to anything, and he gives up the triangle to ensure that he doesn't get armbarred. And now, that is deep. That is
he
deep.
trying to pull the head
This
to-
might be over, you know?
Yeah.
This might be over. That is tight. That is tight.
Almost there, I think.
Yeah, there we go.
It is
Lovely, lovely work. Lovely work.
Well played by Mr. Norris. Or not. Maybe I'm mistaken from...
Unfortunately, I was actually absent at the very beginning of this, communicating with the previous belt winner. With this being a last-minute addition, I mean, you've got a feel for both guys. Last minute change. You come here, you get prepared for an MMA fight, you know, and end up having a grappling match.
Santisi. Well done. We have 3 matches left. We have Alex Federico against Iron Mike Verginelli. Then we have Luca Tarabon against Lorenzo Prezioso. And on the end, we have Rafael Federico against Riccardo Sartirana.
Degli incontri di grappling
Hey guys, we have the clue grappling match of the night. We have the organizer, the matchmaker, the GOAT of the San Genesio, Alex Federico, grappling world champion, age 54, against one of the most experienced MMA fighters of all Italy, Iron Mike Verginelli. A huge weight difference between the two fighters, more than 13 kilos. Not a big difference in age, and this is for sure gonna be a very exciting match. Can you imagine, guys, at the age of these guys, to put yourself into this situation where in front of your family, your friends, all the people that knows you, at 54?
Yeah, so Alessandro recently retired. Doesn't look very retired right now.
No.
He looks in prime condition, and I think one thing that's worth recognizing is Alessandro's always stayed in shape, and that means he's never gotten out of shape and had to get back into shape, which is incredibly hard to do at this age. But Iron Mike is no slouch. You can see he's in fantastic condition as well, and just look at the strength of him here. Now, you have to also remember that Alessandro has spent a long time organizing this event. Sponsors, matchmaking, logistics, everything from food, drink, transport, hotels, all of these sort of things, and everything of this plays a part in the stress bucket. So how's that going to affect the lighter weight fighter tonight? At the moment they tie up, and it'd be interesting to see what the game plan is for both guys. And once again, I need to remind you that this rule set is submission attempts. Submission attempts outperform everything else in this rule set. So
Yeah, even if you can see one of the two fighters being out-grappled by the other one, what just counts is submission attempts and nothing else.
and if the submission attempts are equal, then we look at the rest of the scoring criteria.
So a lot of study in this period for the two fighters. No real takedown attempts.
See, Alessandro obviously trains at this altitude all the time. I doubt Iron Mike does. But is the stand-up with the heavier MMA fighter the best choice of strategy for Alessandro here? You've got to think he's got something up his sleeve because he's a very intelligent grappler. Obviously, I think this is a great shout for Iron Mike. I think this is the sort of thing he should be weighing on that head, drawing the energy out of Alessandro and spending as much time as he can trying to fatigue the opposition. Oh, big club, big club. I think we've seen some effective striking already. Now we're looking for effective grappling. I don't think either of these guys are going to shoot. You know, I think this is going to be looking for some sort of arm drag or Greco-style tie-up. There's too much risk if you get sprawled on, I think.
Especially for Alex.
Was this a takedown or a slip?
I think it's
A bit of both?
yeah, a bit of both. I wouldn't consider it a takedown. Maybe a slip from Alex with a kind of pull guard.
Obviously, the rest of the round will determine what happens here, but I think...
How would you play against an opponent bigger like Mike Verginelli?
yeah, it's a great question. I think it really depends on obviously their background. You know, I'd play different against a wrestler than I would against, say, a more jiu-jitsu based guy. But if I had a bigger, stronger MMA guy on top of me, then I'd be very similar to Alessandro here, trying to get underneath him, probably looking to attack his legs. So I probably would have looked to fake a tie-up and then dropped in on the legs, maybe with the idea of wrestling up. Because one thing that I've found whenever I've engaged with MMA fighters is they're extremely good at wrestling. Extremely good at wrestling. They're extremely good at countering wrestling. But one thing that they're not that attuned to is wrestling from the bottom position. So if you have a jiu-jitsu guard, like a butterfly guard, it's so rare to see that in MMA for the risk of being struck. So wrestling from a butterfly guard position is very often something that I look for against MMA guys because it's a weird niche game. Alessandro is a half guard player, a type of half guard called Z guard, and when he gets to that position, he likes to use an overhook and a Z guard to stretch his opponent out and force him into different courses of action. Now this is difficult because, you know, nothing's really happened in this round.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably the closest thing to a draw you could call,
Yeah.
really. I just hope for Alessandro's sake that it's not like that in the next round. Nothing happened. Alessandro had a slip, and Iron Mike disengaged.
Yeah, pretty much that's it. So let's see how the two fighters are gonna change the strategy for the second round.
Now there's a rule that there's no draws here, and for the crowd's sake, I really hope that we actually get some engagement and some action here, because we've been told that the judges would favor the lighter weight opponent and the age difference. Now there isn't an age difference, but there is a weight difference, which means that, like, if it's completely even, which it certainly seems to be relatively at the moment, then it probably would go to Alessandro, which I don't think any of us want to see a win like that, you know?
Well, but that's the rule set. When you decide to compete, you have to accept.
Yeah, I think, you know, it is what it is. But we all know Alessandro's skills. He's got years and years and years, maybe 20 years of training. You know, it'd be cool to see some of those skills on display. And remember, you are main event here. You are main event, so this is something that's been building up to. You certainly don't want to be overshadowed by the blue belts in the first stanza, you know? When you've got a card that's so beautifully matched, and there's been such entertainment all the way through, back and forth, submission attempts versus control, upsets, you know, victories. You certainly want to see a chance for these athletes to perform. And I've seen some of Alessandro's performances, and he is an incredible performer. And obviously, Iron Mike speaks for himself.
None of the two fighters can find a grip to shot a takedown.
Grip fighting is extraordinarily technical, and there's a lot to be learned from this grip fighting, but if there's no... There we go, Alessandro engages and tries to get some action going. So Iron Mike stifling the butterfly guard, Alessandro trying to clear the head off his chest to create some space to get something going. Alessandro maintains that butterfly guard. The crowd is always behind their man with this double butterfly guard. With Alessandro's ankles pinned to his hips there, it's very hard for him to create space. Iron Mike's using that weight advantage to block Alessandro's ability to use his legs, and tries a rolling Kimura attempt. I mean, is the rolling Kimura attempt?
Well, no, because he hadn't the perfect grip on that.
Yeah. Nope, try to pass, does pass. Okay, something has happened.
Okay,
something has happened, and Alessandro is going to need to do something here. there's 90 seconds left in this match, and so far you've got a very half-hearted rolling Kimura attempt and a guard pass that probably wouldn't be scored in the IBJJF because it was only there for about 2 seconds. But that is actually something that's happened. In terms of Alessandro, you can clearly see he wants to get a guard going. He's been the one that's willing to engage when the stand-up battle became a bit of a stalemate. But it seems that Iron Mike is not really up for taking any chances. Obviously, he's the one who's actually tried to complete the passes and all the rest of those, but he's not willing to make any errors.
What would you do to try to pass this butterfly guard?
Would I do
try to clear one foot, at least one?
Yeah, like this.
Like
so,
this.
Yeah, exactly. And he's passing to the side. The thing for me in these positions, right, is that smother's illegal in this. And so any time that I've got stuck in a position like this, where my hands are still free, like Alessandro's are, like I like to just cover the opponent's mouth. You know what I mean? And then when I cover the opponent's mouth, he has to either deal with it by bringing a hand towards it, or
then?
Well, so once he brings a hand up, he's no longer covering the biceps like this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so I've done this in Polaris multiple times, where a guy has tried to shut me down a little bit, and I just put a hand over his mouth, and that forces the action to actually commence.
I think this goes
If ever a fight deserved a draw, that was the one.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go to Alex because of the weight difference.
I mean, like, yeah. Again, like, if all was equal, like, do you see the guard pass as more control? Because he certainly didn't consolidate it. I would say that, like, you know, if that was an IBJJF match, it's 0 points.
0 points,
Yeah.
exactly.
Alessandro pulled guard off a grip every time, 0 points. Like, literally, I would say that's as close to a stalemate in a grappling match as you're ever going to see. And very often that goes to the favor towards the lighter weight fighter. Alessandro was trying to drive the pace, but he wasn't in control of the match. Iron Mike wasn't trying to drive the pace, and I'd say he wasn't also in control of the match. So, one more round?
Yeah, it could be a great solution. Maybe, you know, which tournament they put the athlete like in a Rodizio fight, for example, they let them start from the back.
Oh, EBI.
Yeah, EBI, like EBI
and you
rules.
get people gaming the rules as well and like forcing a stalemate. So
Yeah,
they can
exactly.
get to
Should
those,
be that could be one solution to this fight. Or maybe from the mount or from the back.
Look, both guys tried their best. Yes, okay, a draw. Okay, that truly is what I would describe as a fair result. Yeah, okay. Okay, I was under the impression that draws weren't allowed, but like that is 100% a draw performance, if ever I've seen one. If ever I've seen one, that is 100% a draw performance. Fantastic outcome for what is a very, very difficult match to decide. Both guys put a lot of effort into that. Very, very technical match, very strategic match, tough match.
Yeah, it should be lasted like 20 minutes, like Metamoris matches. Okay, guys, we have our first MMA match. It's gonna be Luca Tarabori against Lorenzo Prezioso. It's a match in the featherweight division. We have the two guys with quite a big difference of age. We have Lorenzo Prezioso, 38 years old, versus Luca Tarabori, 27 years old. No pro fights for both fighters, so it's gonna be a debut for both of them, and see how this goes. So gloves wrapping.
They're just making sure that the gloves are wrapped. This is important to make sure that the Velcro doesn't impact the other fighter. Got a striker versus grappler here.
Yeah. Who's the grappler?
Well,
Tarabori.
yes, he has
fights-
beaten Jay tattooed on
Yeah.
the side of his ribs,
Yeah.
so that gave it away a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and he has Alex Federico on his corner, so maybe he trains here.
They both look in fantastic shape. Both look massively up for it. MMA, a little bit of a change of pace. We're here for 3 5-minute rounds. Our referee is Kevin Moyetta. And here we go. Knees, elbows, kicks, everything legal here. You can win by submission or knockout. And straight in
Nice.
on the double leg. Straight in on the double leg.
Was able to pass the guard with a nice control on the foot, north-south.
The important thing here now is to take your time. Okay, sometimes fighters get a bit too eager to get their ground and pound going and allow the other fighter a chance to stand up. We've switched into a north-south position and positioned him against the cage, and you can see fighter on the bottom is blocking off the ability for the top fighter to mount by having his knee against the guy's hip.
Actually, I didn't know that Lorenzo Prezioso was 38 years old. Looks younger to me.
Clean living. Yeah, so far, a very dominant start
Yeah,
for Luca.
for Luca.
Yeah. Could be thinking about some knees to the body here. Yep, straight away. Straight away.
Still no shots. Maybe some knee.
Now, interestingly, Lorenzo isn't really working too hard from the bottom. You know, one thing that tends to happen with guys when they hit the floor is if they're not experienced, they panic a little bit. Panicking a little bit can sometimes lead to energy consumption, and that means if they do get back up to the feet, especially if they're a kickboxer in the case of Lorenzo, that their arms are filled with blood and they can be a little bit tired.
Yeah.
Lorenzo's biding his time. What I'd like to see from Lorenzo here is perhaps winning an underhook with the right arm and starting to stand up against the fence, but it's a tough ask when you've got a good guy on top of you.
Maybe facing through the guy and trying to at least have one knee on the ground to try to stand up.
Oh, he's isolating an arm.
Oh,
And
armbar
he's sat-
attempt.
He sat position. Lorenzo has started to stand back up and lost
completely
position.
lost.
This is what I said. You know, you want to take your time. Got a butterfly hook. Uses the butterfly hook to sweep. Wins a single leg.
Out of
Has he
action,
gone for a
maybe.
guillotine? He's gone
Yeah,
for a
it's
guillotine.
guillotine, yeah.
But he doesn't have his bottom knee free. This is going to be tough to finish. And yet, pops out. Okay, so it's Luca on his back with a decent overhook. Just remember that elbows in pro completely legal. He needs to be careful with his head up off the mat like that. That he doesn't get elbowed. Or vice versa, really.
Maybe Lorenzo's trying to find some... Oh, nice sweep. It's the second that Luca puts on Lorenzo.
Beautiful work. Beautiful work. Lovely sweep back to top position. This is part of the problem. If you're on top and you want to be on the feet and you're the kickboxer and you engage in the grappling, you know, sometimes you might want to think about standing back up, disengaging, getting the ref standing back up, circling away from that takedown and getting your hands flying. I think Luca will learn a lesson from that and maybe not attack the armbar quite so quickly. What an early night. But when you've got a game opponent, you've got to do the work. One thing we say to our guys back in Leeds is this idea of cooking someone. You don't take it out of the oven until it's ready. That's the secret for cooking. I'm sure you'd agree with that, Roberto.
I'm nodding with the head.
Wait, big kick. Big kick again.
Very powerful shots from Luca. Lorenzo
Big shot
not
again.
able to stand up. Gets the shots. It's not able to defend himself.
He needs to be careful of the up kicks. Lorenzo doing a fairly good job of keeping space, even if he is taking shots here. Catching the ankle, and he's cut. Oh, that's an illegal shot. That is an illegal shot. Going to the end of round one. Lorenzo wide-eyed here. Maybe he's taken a few. Wouldn't be surprised to see Luca shoot again. And we go to a round two.
Was that shot illegal even if it gets shot
You
while
can't-
on the ground?
You can't throw a shot to the head unless anything other than the soles of the feet.
Okay.
That's very clearly Luca's round. Lorenzo wide-eyed after that round. A little bit of an education in grappling. He had some great moments though, escaping that armbar to get to top.
Yeah.
Maybe that should have been the time to disengage. He also got to top position himself, into the guard, and then got swept using a beautiful butterfly sweep from Luca.
The round was really quick. Both fighters used a lot of energy. So I'm curious to see how they will change the pace of the fight.
Looks like a debut to me as well, especially in front of a home crowd, eager to get the job done. If I was in Luca's corner, I'd say same again, but take your time. Focus on advancing position, no submissions that involve going to your back. If I was in Lorenzo's corner, I'd be saying circle super hard straight off the bell. Circle left and right, keep your feet moving, get ready for that shot. All kicks below the waist. Make sure you don't throw it into his arms because you know exactly what Luca's looking for, and he seems very dominant on the ground. Big shot off the kick. And that's what they say. You counter punches with kicks, you counter kicks with punches. You get the timing right. Big shot.
Really big shot from Luca.
Luca's taking his time a little bit now. That's another massive shot.
That was really massive.
Yeah.
Lorenzo trying to
work something from his guard, really, isn't he? He's looking
just
to
controlling the head. Maybe climbing with the legs to shot an armbar or a triangle.
needs to be careful taking his hand away from his head like that because he's leaving openings for Lorenzo to land shots again. Those, sorry, not Lorenzo, Luca. Lorenzo on the bottom, however, is those tiny chipping shots are not going to do too much, but they are going to make you vulnerable. Squares him up against the cage. This is where ground and pound becomes really effective. Limits his opponent's movement, head above his head, stable base. It's time to throw bombs. Important to recognize as well, left-handed strikes, forgive me there, left-handed strikes from Luca will be targeting the liver, which will sap the energy. We're already at altitude. Energy sapping shots. This is fairly one-sided at the moment.
Yeah.
What are the corners calling for here, Roberto?
They are telling to try to clear the head and posture up to shot, and just, or to Lorenzo to not leave the head because he would get shot.
Okay.
But this way, Lorenzo is not able to work. Or you try to sweep or climb with the leg.
90 seconds left in the round. Back to their feet, raise it on the fence. Liver kick. Oi. Shifting low kick. Big low kick back. Lorenzo looks like his energy's been really sapped.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Luca's not looking super fresh himself either.
Seems also confident somehow.
Yeah, I think he knows he's been winning this round.
Oh, was this a try to leg lock?
This is a bizarre decision when you're in the ascendancy to put yourself on your back. That's either extreme confidence or misplaced confidence, one of the two. But he's got himself a belly down straight ankle lock. Yeah, so, rules of MMA, anything that can be construed as a tap.
Well,
Looked to me like a tap.
seems to me a tap.
Yeah. I actually had this conversation with a referee before. I used to think that it was two clear taps, but it's any sign of submission.
Yeah, it
Any
doesn't
sign
seem
of
like
submission.
shots to the leg of the opponent. So they were with the open hand.
I mean,
So-
that was a one-sided affair. It was a one-sided affair. Maybe Lorenzo's been spared a little bit more, but that shifting body kick that he pulled out once he stood back up actually made me wonder. Okay, so that'll go down as a submission win for Luca.
Yeah.
That's a pro debut. Yeah, you can't fault Luca for that. You can't fault Luca for that. That's just the nature of the beast. He did what he had to do.
Yeah.
Turned out to be a good decision. Not one that I'd necessarily recommend, but yeah, and I mean, fairness, Lorenzo did look like he tapped to me.
Yeah, also to me. So I don't know if in his mind he thought he.
The one thing that I would say is, like, if that was a strike, I certainly wouldn't be open palm striking while in a leg lock.
Exactly.
It's too easy to misconstrue. And it looked actually to me, and that's a very common thing, it looked actually to me like the submission came on and then came off, and he tapped to it coming on, and then it was off again.
Yeah.
And he thought, actually, no, I can carry on here.
Yeah, because it seems also that he waited just few seconds for the second tap, so he wasn't sure if the submission was on.
Yeah.
And some people, it's continuing feeding us with glucose.
Are we off?
And here we go for the main event of the night. We have the idol of home, Rafael Federico, against this well-experienced kickboxer from Milan, Riccardo Sartirana. The fight is gonna be in the featherweight division. Both of the fighters are at their pro debut. And here is the fight.
And he shows a knee straight away. That's here to discourage Rafael. Nearly said Alessandro there. That's here to discourage Rafael from shooting the takedown. Rafael lands the overhand right. His hands are low. And he shoots his double leg and gets hold of the single. And takes him down. This is exactly where Rafael wanted to be. Into the leg drag. And he's got the lock drag. This is a position that I teach all of my fighters. It's the first time I've actually seen it effectively used in a fight. I'm actually having a fantastic time here. This is called the lock drag. Yeah, this is something I actually surprised to see in a fight. I love this position. One of the most effective ground and pound positions you're ever going to find. Brilliant.
And I can assure you he's absurdly dominant. You can't move your legs. And with the right position on the head, the pressure on you, on the upper body is huge. And if the shots are available and you can shot, it's going to be an easy TKO.
So from this position, what we need is time. Okay, take your time. For the man on bottom, he needs to clear his legs and start bring that top leg back in front. And you can hear John Kavanagh telling Rafael not to rush this position. I can't believe we've just seen the lock drag in an MMA fight. I'm absolutely having a great time over here. Fair play, Rafael. It's a 10-8 in my book. Okay, so on the bottom, we need to create some space. Okay, we need to untangle our legs. We need to use our hands at the moment to create some space to untangle our legs. Top position, you just need to maintain and you need to tire your opponent out. He's carrying your weight. He's underneath this gravity this whole time. And this is where, if I was in Rafael's shoes, I'd be looking for a Dagestani handcuff, which is what he was about to set himself up there, or a gift wrap. But all he needs to do is take his time, chip away. Arm triangles often available here.
Yes, and Riccardo doesn't seem to easily find a solution to this situation.
He's got his knee back in front now, which is much better for the man on bottom. With his knee back in front, he can at least... Okay, he's lost that position now. But with that knee, he could be trying to create some space. This is all one-way traffic, guys. From the days of UFC 1, kickboxer versus grappler, grapplers tend to be the ones that dominate these positions. Now again, he just needs to take his time here.
Rafael on a heavy mount. Maybe the opponent is going to give the back. Oh.
Now his question is, can his opponent, nice work from his opponent, manage to clear the body triangle.
And it's over.
And it's over. It's a first round stoppage for Alessandro's son, Rafael Federico. His pro debut, the event put on. No slouch of an opponent, but the game plan was written from the beginning. Textbook use of the lock drag, and Rafael soaks it all in. You saw his opponent escape the back body triangle, something that is incredibly hard to do. And then Rafael managed to secure the deal from mount. Slow and steady, progress position, looked fantastic.
Awesome work by Rafael Federico, a complete display of control, calmness, and technique.
Nice respect for his opponent. He surely must have known that it was a tough ask to step in again to enemy territory here and get the job done. First round finish, easy night.
Look how much support Rafael is getting. This is awesome.
Wow, that was an incredible night. Well done, Rafa.
Really well done from Rafael. From the athlete of the SBG, which has a huge experience in amateur competition, now makes his pro debut.
Hello, and so concludes Lutador de Elite number 10. Rafael Federico victorious, and a host of incredible grappling matches. The MMA really lived up to the hype, and just a pleasure all round to share the commentary booth with Mr. Roberto Scrigna.
Thank you, Liam, for your technical insights in this grappling match. Thank you for all the audience to be here and to have been with us this night. It was very exciting for us to do this job, and I hope to do that again.
Yeah, I'd like to just finish off by saying thank you to all of the officials and staff members. The judges had a tough time tonight to enforce a rule set with submission attempts being the absolute primary. You had the referee, Kevin, you had our ring announcer, you had the tech team behind. We had all of the people who worked with Lutador de Elite 10. And a big thank you to Alessandro Federico for having us, for putting on such an incredible event, and for hopefully the beginning of many to come.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thank you very much, and we'll catch you all extraordinarily shortly for some more high-level martial arts.
Thank you and good night. Let's have a...